no Q. They want to fight. Don't get them in.
They're going in. I go this guy.
Seju squishes.
Yeah. I ult them.
Kill the front line.
Az is super low. I this.
It's Sjokz who draws first blood in this fight, taking down the support.
We blend in so well together. Even though we have like hard times from time to time, we can overcome it as soon as we realize it.
The only one I could consider as maybe being better than me or my equal, it would be just Vizicsacsi.
The only carry tone planer I would imagine him on is like Rumble.
I think last time I played Vizicsacsi and I played Kenan into Shen, he kind of just kept dying. I just dare him to leave Rumble open on our match on Sunday and see what happens to his champion pool.
UOL time after time shows that they are a better team than us.
It's more of like a personal vendetta. Like, I really want to win that, and I think all my players do as well.
From our scrims and from how we play against H2K, I think we have a really, really good shot.
I don't think we need any kind of special preparation.
There is nothing more important to beat UOL right now, and we always throw against them, so hopefully this time will be better.
It's definitely been a lot more business, and the mood has been a lot more serious in the house.
We can kill Maokai maybe. They're really low.
Okay, nice.
Kite it down.
Kite.
Okay,
cool. Nice.
Kite back, guys. It's good.
This year we managed to beat them 3 times, the last 3 times we met, so I'm looking forward for a 4th time.
This is domination! This is the Unicorns of Love! Dismantle H2K!
I just want to beat them really hard because they kind of snatched the win away from us last times we played them, and personally I don't think they're a good team.
Welcome back to Berlin, where H2K and the Unicorns of Love are ready for the final series of the summer split. And H2K, as we just heard, they want to get their revenge on the Unicorns of Love after some tough losses earlier this year. Actually, the entire year, Unicorns of Love, they have a 6-2 win-loss game record versus H2K in 2017, and they've won all 3 series that they've played before this. They basically haven't won versus them in 2017, and I think that is why Prolly is speaking of this personal vendetta over the Unicorns.
100% quite a rivalry between the teams, been in the same group twice now. Also, the fact that H2K, obviously last bit, were in this kind of situation where they played a game that didn't matter. They took it 100% serious. They wanted to get the best stage practice out of it. And that's why we're actually now expecting this game to be just like, you know, a normal LCS game.
Yeah. I think it's part of a longer thing for H2K where they're still trying to prove that they are one of the top European squads through promotions. Like, this is a team that's been to Worlds twice. They should have that recognition. But whenever we get to these big key matchups, that's where they keep dropping the ball. And you hear them say it themselves, they always seem to throw. Now is the day not to throw.
It's actually also a big point of contention within the caster team. I would say H2K has the support and love of Deficio. He's not biased, but he just believes in the strength of H2K this split. However, you know, obviously Deficio, the stat of them having not been able to beat one of the top 4 teams and not being able to beat the Unicorns of Love, how much does that play into maybe some doubt around H2K still?
I mean, it always means that you're just ready to get disappointed. You're actually not thinking they're going to disappoint you, but you are at least prepared for it in case it should happen.
Yeah.
No one is going to be surprised if H2K randomly start losing a game to Unicorns of Love. But at the same time, I still feel like this team is much better in late game team fights than they used to be, also due to the meta changes. Jankos is no longer as all in the early game, and this has just made them more consistent and should be enough for them to beat Unicorns.
So let's look at the Unicorns of Love then. There's been a lot of talk about how the meta and everyone playing more team fighting style has weakened them inherently, because that is a style that they have been playing and that they had perfected. And also, they ended second now. They can't get first place anymore in this group. Their playstyle has been a bit, or their games have been a bit all over the place most recently. So what is your kind of thoughts on current UOL before playoff stress?
For me, I think UOL have started to not excel at anything. I think we look at their series against Vitality, disappointing in a lot of areas. You look at, they've had some good early games previously with the Nidalis, but then, as you said, other teams that have the team fighting edge, I think H2K have the early game edge. I don't see a point in the game where Unicorns drastically stand out here, and that's dangerous going into playoffs.
It almost needs to go back to the old style of them being better late game team fighters. Like, and I don't think they are as players. But then it needs to be through the pick and ban phase. But that would be weird if Prolly is accepting that kind of thing to happen multiple times in the best of 3. So it's up to Unicorns of Love to really show us something. Because we as a broadcast team and all the fans at home, like, they want to see something really good from these guys just before playoffs to get the hype back up that Unicorns of Love can make it all the way to the final, because they obviously want to go straight back to that final and try and win it.
For both teams, we want to see them put it all on the Rift and hopefully show us a very good performance. We'll see if H2K can finally take that first win of 2017 against the Unicorns of Love. Drakos, the floor is yours, my man.
Thank you, Sjokz. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Daniel Drakos here alongside Andrew Vedius Day for the final series of the regular season. Can't think of anyone I would rather be with.
Thank you, my friend. What a wonderful thing to say. And I love casting with you. We have a fantastic game ahead of us. We have two coaches with a bit of a tense rivalry between them. They want to one-up one another, and I think that will only lead to some high-quality League of Legends.
Absolutely the case, and I've heard we're very close to Champion Select. So let's just give you a quick reminder of each of these lineups. On the blue side, we have the winners, the #1 seed from Group B, H2K. And a lot of members to talk about on the team, but Febiven, Jankos, I feel like the two big ones when we look across at the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, Febiven and Jankos, as a duo, they've been extremely strong. We argue that in terms of mid-jungle synergy, they seem to be at the top. But looking to try and challenge that will be Exileh and Xerxe on the Unicorns of Love, who will be on the red side in our very first game of this best-of-3 series.
Well, H2K have been rising up to the top with a steady stream of consistent performances outside of a few hiccups here and there. Unicorns of Love have been struggling recently, but we've seen at peak form that this team has earned their place at the top. Have to see if they can get back to that form in this series, in the last series before playoffs, because really want to show the fans, as mentioned on the desk, want to show all the Unicorns of Love supporters that their faith is well placed. And we're going to find out exactly what each of these teams are bringing to the table as we head into picks and bans.
I want to remind everyone at home that while this game does not mean anything for the standings, everything is locked. H2K have first, UOL have second. Both these teams still want to win. There is a lot of pride on the line. There is an essence of revenge for H2K. So you can expect some high-quality European League of Legends coming out from these two teams, as we see some pretty targeted bans already coming out from the side of H2K.
Khan taken away. Hylissang known for those aggressive, engaged champions. Interesting as well, because LeBlanc is the Exile special, and we've seen Exile, yes, he was struggling. It was fair to be critical of him, but in recent weeks, it has been comfort picks and some pretty consistent performances that have helped him find success, and the champions you see at the bottom are some of the ones that we wanted to highlight as his most successful.
Assassins, roamers, things where Exile doesn't need to win his lane in order to succeed, where he plays more towards the team, getting out everywhere else on the map and trying to get his other laners ahead. That is where you see the true potential and power of Exile, and that is what we've started to see from him in more recent weeks. Now that we enter our first pick phase, things like the Gragas are still available. Kalista, very strong pick that has been heavily prioritized by a bunch of teams. You can see Unicorns by banning away the Caitlyn and the Alistair. Zac as well. Whoa, I just realized a very strong jungler in the hands of Jankos.
And one that Jankos has shown a lot of success on as well. Surprising to see Unicorns of Love give this one up, prioritizing the Caitlyn ban, not wanting to see it. Now Unicorns of Love, Vedius, they fire back. They get themselves the Kalista. They get themselves the Cho'gath, but we've seen before what happens when you give Jankos the Zac. Things do not go well for your team.
Zac has had some recent nerfs, but that hasn't changed his strength or his priority in the meta. Usually banned in every single game. H2K were given this Zac only recently, and he ended up dismantling his opposition as a result. It is a very risky pick to give away to this man, and we will see how he performs on it as we lock in a few more comfort picks. Tristana, very good pick into the Kalista.
And I like this too, but from what we saw in Fnatic G2, maybe we expected more of these AD carries to be banned out. This time in this match, however, it was a lot more supports, and as a result, we got a Tristana on one side, a Kalista on the other, and we very rarely see both of these AD carries make it through the pick ban phase. And H2K, I mean, full tanky composition coming through, and now a Poppy coming in for the Unicorns of Love as well.
And we're expecting this to be in the jungle for Xerxe too. If you guys missed it, this was brought out by the Unicorns of Love against Vitality. It had a decent early game, but in the team fights, UOL, they fell too far behind and were not able to properly execute upon it. But now they're the ones with the Kalista. They're the ones with a decent engage. They have a very solid front line, similarly to H2K. And now I'm seeing things like the Orianna rise in power, and that's why Unicorns are immediately going to ban her away and
shutting down some of those mid lane picks, Vedius. But I like that you bring up the Poppy, because one thing that we did not see last time it was brought out was a Zac on the opposite side. Poppy can do so much to mitigate his ability to get into the fights. Tristana, maybe her ability to get out. And I feel like it could be a good pick for the Unicorns of Love, but like you said, they just can't afford to fall behind with it like they did against Vitality, but mid lane bans remain the focus.
Now I feel like Unicorns of Love, they should look to get themselves their support next. and then round things out with a mid laner, try and get Exileh on something as comfortable as possible, because there is a lot of focus coming out from H2K onto Exileh in the middle lane. And when you look at some of the supports that are available, Thresh and Rakan, two of the best that synergize with the Kalista. There is the possibility of the Kennen, another great pick that matches up with it. Alternatively, we could see one of the Art and Sensor builds, something like the Janna or the Lulu that we've also been seeing come out from other top European teams.
Interesting, too, as we get later in the pick ban phase. Vedius, from what I see so far, looks like we may just be posed for some team fighting coming out. Kalista, Poppy, Cho'gath, Tristana, Maokai, Zac. And this is a bold statement, I feel like, from the side of H2K, because we said, yes, they've improved at team fighting, but historically, this is where they have fallen flat against the Unicorns of Love.
Well, they have been improving in recent weeks. Interesting shift here from the Unicorns of Love. I feel like that if they do lock in the Galio, their damage is going to be slightly low. Even though you do have the Cho'gath later into the game, because he scales with health, he will be able to chunk out players like the Tristana. It's going to be difficult for a Cho'gath to be able to get onto those high-value targets. And now H2K, they're kind of in this weird situation because you kind of want to go Syndra, but if you do, it's going to be very difficult to get through this front line, and on low mobility mage, you run a big risk. So instead, they're going to opt for something that can be a little bit more aggressive in the early game.
And really what we're looking at here is Unicorns of Love. One single reliable damage threat currently on their composition in the form of Kalista. Yes, Cho'gath, you can say, once he gets the stone plate, he can do a lot of damage, but it's difficult. On the opposite side, the immense amount of sustained damage coming in from H2K Vedius with the Tristana, with the Cassio as well. Two picks that not only can do well in the mid game, but scale so well into the late game as well.
Scaling on the side of H2K, definitely hedging towards those team fights. And it was something that probably said on the desk, the meta has shifted into a team fight meta. And it used to be Unicorn's bread and butter, but their team fighting skills were not so far and above other teams that they were suddenly unbeatable come this meta. And because other teams have now been practicing it, they've been better understanding it. A team like H2K are willing to challenge them.
Vedius!
As we bet a bit of a change up from the
I was just about to say they're going to fight fire with fire. Unicorns of Love taking that a little bit more literally than I expected, but
there's a lot to say about this.
Now look, my most recent experience with Annie is playing with you, where you as just a much better mechanical player just killed people with only support items. So I mean, what? This is, we haven't seen this bot lane together in a long time, but this was, I think, Season 5, a very powerful bot lane.
It's shifted around. Like, I know it was definitely earlier, but the one that always springs to mind is the Season 3 World Championship from Tabe, and he was the guy that brought out and made this Annie support popular just because of how easy it is to get in the face and force a lot of fights. You have so much damage in the early game, you have the potential to go for those all-in kind of engagements. We said the Unicorns of Love lacking a little bit of damage. Well, I'm not saying that this Annie's going to suddenly bring all that damage for you, but she is very reminiscent of someone like the Zyra support who can add it, especially later on into the game.
And we have to be clear, in the Chaos of the Fnatic style, I forgot, but the stats team has reminded me that Jesus did play Annie in the spring playoffs. But enough about the Annie pick. We'll get more on that in a moment. This is your chance, folks. Head on over to Twitter. Vote at LOL Esports. Hashtag H2K win or hashtag UOL win as we get geared up for this game.
And legends, for as long as time, have always predicted H2K to win. The fans, Deficio, everyone. Fate always seems to predict that it will be H2K that come out victorious, but the Unicorns, they defy fate, they challenge convention, they find a way. And every time in 2017, they have defeated H2K. Let's see if they can do it one more time.
You know, I want to tell you to stop spending so much time with Medic, but I actually like how that turned out. This is it, folks. Game 1, red side, Unicorns of Love and Annie support on the bottom lane. H2K, this is standard. This is the meta that we've come to expect. But Vedius, we have to talk about this bottom lane. I can't imagine that Chei is happy to see an Annie on the opposite side.
Now, we saw a lot of support bans. The Alistair, the Rakan, the Thresh, all conventional, really good synergistic supports with Kalista because of the way in which they can interact with her ultimate. Now, you might think Annie, it's a little risky. She doesn't have like huge AoE ultimate like a Kennen does, where it's safe to kind of throw them in. What she does have, though, is a lot of power with her ulti in forms of CC, because it's an instant stun. You can see the little charges underneath. Every time Annie uses an ability, she'll stack up a charge. Once she stacks up a certain number of charges, she'll have any one of her abilities can stun. The Q, the W, and the R, because the E doesn't actually do any damage. So, once that stun is available, there's a lot of kill threat. Her base values on Annie, extremely high. When you pair that up with a champion like Kalista, against someone like a Janna who's extremely squishy in the early game, there is a lot of murder potential down in that 2 versus 2.
And I'm excited to see exactly what they're going to pull out here, how aggressive they're going to get, if Chei and Nuclear need to mitigate this, and if this demands a shift in attention from the junglers, Vedius, because the Zac feels like he can go mid. He can support that mid lane jungle synergy that we mentioned earlier, but I mean, if that bot lane gets ahead, I feel like it could be disastrous, and it may mean that H2K need to give a little bit more respect to Hylissang and Samux.
The thing is, what you typically expect from H2K is to just have a slow and pretty easy laning phase. Jankos' main goal would be to provide vision, try and go for counter ganks, read the path of what Xerxe is trying to do, and not really try and build any early leads, but just make sure that H2K have the best early laning phase as possible and don't give away anything to this Kalista Annie lane in the bottom. And I think you're right. I feel like Jankos needs to invest a little bit more time in that bottom half of the map because Hylissang and Samux will push. They will naturally be in a position where they could overextend. And it's the responsibility of both junglers to compensate for that and make sure that on the UOL side they can succeed, whereas Jankos, he wants to try and punish it.
And Vedius, we've talked a lot about the bot lane and what they need to do to win, but I want to look at the compositions holistically. What is Unicorns of Love trying to pull off here? It does still feel to a certain degree like they are a little bit low on damage output if they don't find a lead in the early game.
I very much agree with you. I think that this Kalista, especially without the Ardent Sensor, will rely very heavily on trying to get an early lead, and there's a whole composition built around trying to support them. And while Cho'gath, again, his ultimate does provide a lot of damage, he's not someone who can consistently throw out that DPS. Champions who are really good at kiting, like the Cassio and Tristana, are going to make it difficult. So a lot of onus is going to be on Samux to carry, as Xerxe already looking for a play in the bot lane.
Stun is prep, Nuclear doing what he can to dish out damage to dissuade the dive. Xerxe looking for the dive forward. Will he find a tornado with the knockup? May discourage anything further. They're going to move everything onto Chei, but this is going to backfire. Hylissang moving back. Not enough. That's first blood. Massive backfire for the Unicorns of Love.
Splyce tried to make an early level 3 play against Nuclear and Chei. It failed. UOL now try to replicate that same kind of performance, and it fails once more. Nuclear and Chei, they always find a way. They are performing so brilliantly in these last few weeks as a gang happens up top.
They may get something on the top side as well. Jankos moving forward, stretching strike connected to the minion. Now Kiss backing off. Red buff blocked. Vizicsacsi trying to run to safety, has to flash out. Odoamne moving forward. Quick smash to keep him down. That's going to be another kill. It's the flash from Jankos to close it out.
Took a little while when all these tanks are slapping each other. There's no real damage to get a quick kill. But H2K, they start off with a fantastic early game lead. And this is exactly a bad thing for the Unicorns of Love because their composition relies on getting this Kalista ahead. H2K, they just want to play a slow, passive laning phase where they'll scale nicely into the mid and late game, knowing that they have extremely strong team fighting power. And the fact that H2K can get these early leads is setting them up for success later on.
This is exactly what we like to see from H2K. Very often when they find snowballing advantages in the early game, it's so easy for them to close out. Now, historically against Unicorns of Love, they've left too many openings for comebacks. But now in this game, with a Cassio, with a Tristana, with so much damage at their disposal, along with the engagement tools, I don't want to take Unicorns of Love out of it. That's definitely not the case. They can still come back in some of these team fights, but this composition is not built for comebacks. Now move forward, stretching strikes, connect to the minion again. Exile is grounded, will make it out in time to flash, but yet another gank coming in for Jankos. You talked about maybe just looking to neutralize Xerxe in the early game, but now that he found early success, I feel like he can just keep chain ganking these lanes.
Yeah, Jankos, he has always been known as an early game jungler, trying to get his team ahead in the early game, and while on tank junglers, he hasn't necessarily been known for that. He has lost his title of the First Blood King, but when he sees an opportunity to be aggressive, it does not stop him. Now you have the combo of the stretching strikes and the grounding. Loved seeing it there from Febiven and Jankos, and it just makes it so difficult to be able to escape. So now it becomes harder for Exileh to roam around the map. It becomes harder for Chachi to make any kind of TP plays. Everything going well in the early game for H2K, but the one person you can never count out from the Unicorns of Love is Samux. This man, to me, has been one of the star performers of the Unicorns. I feel like as an individual, he's had such an impressive impact just on the team in general. I think that with the struggles that they had earlier in the split, if this man had not been able to have the performance that he had, Unicorns would not be in the position that they're currently in.
And I 100% agree. We look back at some of those Twitch performances, the monster, the surprise from stealth, double or triple kills in unpredictable situations to single-handedly win Baron fights, team fights, or even take Nexuses. Samux, I think, has been the unsung hero of this team. He received so much criticism in the spring split, and I think it was fair. He did have some good numbers, but wasn't always the biggest impact, but that has changed. Now Vizicsacsi going to run down. Does he have enough mana to keep it going, though? Courage of the Colossus just going to knock him back, looking to get the Sap Magic passive, hoping to heal up. Empowered means there's going to be a slow on to Vizicsacsi. Mana is running low, but he's not going to have to get close enough. Eats him down. I've never cast tank action so fast before, but not actually a lot happened there.
It was just a matter of time. Chachi just needed to close the gap. He eventually does. He gets the kill, and already he's back into this laning phase. We heard from Odo, even though the clip was a little bit old, he still showed his respect towards Chachi. He always considered him one of the best top laners in Europe. MVP of Spring Split, playing on the Cho'gath, gets Unicorns at the very least onto the kill board.
You like the Unicorns of Love, gave him a little bit of the priority. Looks like H2K with the Maokai weren't exactly looking to have him dominate that lane matchup. And while Odo has been doing well so far, we bring up Samux. Well, the old school carry, the constant for Unicorns of Love in the past was Vizicsacsi, but we kind of have to turn our attention to the mid lane, Vedius. That is a massive CS differential already building up.
It already comes back to the early pressure that Jankos decided to exert onto Exile, trying to make the life of this Galio extremely hard. Cassio does well into all kinds of melee matchups because she is a short-range champion, and it becomes so much easier to land the poison if the targets come to you. And the moment she does, and she's got a bit of mana under her belt, there's no way you're getting near that creep wave. So Febiven, great champion for him and great for this matchup, really mitigating the power that Galio can bring. Now, he does have TP. He'll be able to get back into lane, but the damage has already been done, and Febiven off to a great start as well.
And he's going to pick up maybe 7 or 8 creeps here, but already almost a 30 CS differential between Febiven. And we talk about Samux on UOL, we talk a little bit about Vizicsacsi, but one man, and who has been constant throughout the split has been Febiven, coming in for H2K, and on this Cassio, he's already putting up a dominant performance, and I think we have to keep our eyes on him moving forward because you already have a 30 CS lead at this point. You think he has to be ready to carry some team fights.
The thing about Febiven is, when you think about MVPs and you think about players who've really shone out, one of the easiest ways I find of narrowing down the pool is when you think of a roster, and you think of why that team has lost, do you ever think of Febiven? Because to me, I can never think of an instance where Febiven has been the reason why H2K have lost a game. This guy has been so consistent, not only in laning phase, but in just his overall playstyle and performance, that I feel like he has been one of the best performing players overall in Europe, let alone just on H2K. And it's great to see him returning to form because there was a lot of question marks, there was a lot of criticism about how well he would do. Coming into the beginning of 2017, when will 2015 Febiven return? The Faker Slayer himself.
Well, I think he's already back, and we're going to find out right now. It may not be the Faker Slayer, but can he be the Exile Slayer? Taunt does connect. Xerxe moving forward has the red buff, but Leap In is going to get canceled. Febiven now trying to dish out the consistent damage. Oh no! That is not the mid lane jungle synergy we were looking for. Could have been a kill there quite easily, but Exile now getting pulled back, slowly getting chipped down. Febiven, does he want to commit the flash? The Petrifying Gaze already burned. Unicorns of Love here for the backup, however, and they're just going to have to back off on the side of H2K.
So a lot of things happened right there. Number one, Odo used his TP down into that fight, then decided it was either interrupted or he cancelled it. Not entirely sure which of the two, but it means that Chachi will have that TP advantage for later play. This could be a good opportunity for the Unicorns of Love. The fight itself, it could have gone either way, but both bottom lanes seem to get into a bit of a skirmish, and that stopped them from being able to join the 2 versus 2. So you had 2 tanks versus a tank and a Cassio, and if that Cassio had been able to land the ulti, oh my word, that would have been at least a kill going in favor of H2K. But the breakup in communication there from Jankos, not only did he pull them out of the ulti, but he also pulled them out of the miasma. That meant that Xerxe and Exile, they could just walk away, they could flash out, they were in no real danger, which means that neither team ends up losing or gaining any kills.
And also well played by Xerxe. Good timing on the Steadfast Presence to deny the Zac getting in, to limit some of those cooldowns. We have to praise UOL because, yes, the early snowball for H2K was strong. Jankos did feel like he was everywhere. But even after the fumble on the bottom side, UOL are keeping it together. Now Chei looks like he is giving necessary respect. Nuclear may not be the case, though. Leaping forward, not quite the communication they were looking for there. And he had the stun, not going to use it. Jankos is on the way down. They will get a control ward, but that's it in the exchange.
I want to quickly backtrack to something you mentioned in Champion Select, Drakos. The Steadfast Presence, really effective against a lot of these jumping, dashing champions because of it does interrupt them. It stops them from happening. And we may see it come into effect right now as Jankos for a play.
Looking forward on to Exile. Gonna look for somebody to connect to. Luckily, Xerxe is there. Miasma is down. Jankos taking a lot of damage. The Let's Bounce, pulling him out. Looks like Petrifying Gaze did connect, but suddenly Febiven now in trouble. Exileh leaping out of the team fight, but he's getting burned down. The Annie, the Kalista, too much to flash. Not taking him to safety. Not at all where he wanted to go. Unicorns of Love fire back.
And that could have been a big fight for the Unicorns of Love because they had the TP ready and available from Chei. He didn't need it though because Jankos, he went in without proper follow-up. Nuclear and Chei, they could not get into the fight. Trying to force these kind of exchanges this early on into the game is not ideal for this comp, remember. So here you can see Nuclear and Chei, they're heading on to Xerxe and Exileh, soaking up a lot of the damage. And Samux and Hylissang, it's so easy for them to get onto Febiven. He's on the back line. He's got no real support from the rest of his team because they're all trying to deal with Exileh and Xerxe, who's just sitting in the face. Now, looking for another dive from the Unicorns of Love.
Exileh moving forward, going to try to find the taunt on a Nuclear. Flash going to take him out. Looks like the input buffer on the rocket jump, even if he did get taunted there. Takes him to safety, but TP comes in. Chei, to keep the fight going. Jankos out of nowhere. Going to look for the stretching strike. Does connect Exileh, who's going to find him too, but knocked out. Clean keeper's verdict comes in from Xerxe to stop the fight.
Fantastic disengage from Xerxe, but also a big misplay from H2K. They were so focused on either Samux or Exileh that they completely ignored Hylissang. Hylissang had no flash, extremely squishy Annie early on in the game with Moby boots, and Odo did not bother to focus him down. If we get a replay of how that all happened, you can see like the focus from H2K just seemed a little off.
And I agree, but I think you're gonna have to hold that thought because Cassio looks like she's looking for a 1v1 of her own. Rupture will connect Vizicsacsi, not with a lot of mana. Minions around passive may be able to help. Grasping and Dying slows him down. Maokai on the way in. This should be a dead Vizicsacsi, but a nice flash into the blast cone. Gonna take him out to safety. A beautiful escape to get the tower as well. And Unicorns of Love, Vedius, they tied it up even after the early game.
The Unicorns of Love, we said it at the start, Drakos, they always find a way. And so far, they've been able to get a few kills down in the bottom lane. Hylissang starting to roll. Chei gets that first tower up in the top lane, equalizing the gold. And now, knowing that there are two members topside, there's no TPs available on H2K. UOL feels safe and confident to go for a very early Inferno.
13 minutes in, gold, only 500 difference, kills even, but a tower in the favor of Unicorns of Love, and now the Infernal Drake as well. We check in on the items. Pretty even across the board, but you can see a lead starting to grow for Vizicsacsi in the top side as he does finish up that adaptive helm.
It's a strong atomization coming out from the Unicorns of Love. That's one thing that we do have to remember, Drakos. There's a lot of AP on the side of H2K. Maokai, Zac, Cassio, all building towards that sort of damage style, I suppose. Tristana will
they don't really bid. No matter what they build, they do magic damage.
But the idea is when you have a lot of AP on the enemy team, getting early magic resistance makes a lot more sense because the AD carry won't be a threat until a little bit later on. So once he gets the Infinity Edge and Static Shiv, that's when you want to have armor ready and available. But for the time being, just invest in that magic resistance. Make sure that champions like the Maokai, like the Zac, even though they're big and tanky, they're only doing base damages at this point. So getting that resistance early is very valuable.
I think it's good you bring it up too, because they do not have a Kalista on the side of H2K, not a champion who spikes on a single item. Gonna need a few more under the belt for Nuclear. When do we expect the Tristana to come online? When can she be a relevant source of damage to force some armor itemization?
Now, because Uncensor is completed. Bit of trading back and forth, but in all seriousness, I think that the thing about Uncensor is it turns 2-item AD carries into 3-item AD carries much earlier in the game, which is why we have been seeing a few things like, ooh,
feels bad, to walk around.
But yeah, as I was saying, champions like Tristana, Caitlyn, Xayah all work extremely well because they are typically 3-item spike AD carries because you give them the Ardent Sensor and boom. Now they don't need that 3rd item. They already hit a really strong spike at around 2. So Static Shiv and the Infinity Edge, that's going to be a very strong Nuclear. But he's not there yet, hasn't even completed his 1st item. So for H2K, I feel like they don't want to force anything right now. Keep farming, keep scaling. The Rod of Ages has just been completed for Febiven. He has his tier that he's going to be stacking up. And so they're not the ones that need to make anything happen. The onus is on the Unicorns of Love. There is a bit of a timer on this team composition because, as you rightly said, damage is limited to the Kalista.
Well, while we move further into the game, Vedius, I want to take a look at how these two teams have been fighting because H2K, we've been talking about them improving in team fights, and luckily we have the numbers to show it. Now, looking at this graphic, the important thing to know, CK over M, that's combined kills per minute. That's showing you how frequently a team fights. No surprise to see Unicorns of Love are #1 there, fighting a ton. H2K close behind them, but when we look at team fight KDA, this is the KDA for the team in large skirmishes. 5 members, 4 members. You can see 1.4 for H2K, so actually a slight edge over Unicorns of Love when it comes to these team fight scenarios, at least from what the numbers tell us.
And this comes back to what Prolly was saying on the desk, where other teams are just as good or maybe even better at team fighting than the Unicorns of Love. This meta has allowed other teams to develop this style and make it work for them. So H2K, a team that in the past was considered very weak at team fighting, there's some interesting stats on your screen to indicate that they can in fact do it well. And they have drafted themselves a team fight composition very similarly to that of Unicorns of Love. The only real difference is when the comps turn online. And the Unicorns of Love, they're going to be looking to fight very classic Unicorns of Love style around the 20 to 25 minute mark. Whereas H2K, they want to wait a little bit longer, around the 25 onwards mark, where they're feeling much stronger.
Zach comes in, not going to find the opportunity. They're moving forward, so much damage comes in. Rend not going to flash forward, not going to look for it. Nuclear slowly burning down. Damage goes on to Zach. Tippers goes along for the ride, but the smite going to secure it. Hylissang. Samux wasn't even ready. That man went in by himself. It almost solo killed a Tristana.
Annie boys, now Xerxe looking for a bit of a flank. The ulti will come out from Chei. Now the siege begins.
Moving forward, Hylissang going to try to find the stun again. Xerxe moving in as well. Galio coming in to make sure they don't take any damage under that tower. Xerxe pulling back. Odoamne throws out the ultimate. He's going to root one. Not going to find anyone else. However, a beautiful petrifying gaze. Febiven going in and dishing out the damage. And Hylissang now in trouble, but the team is there to back him up. Jankos going to make it out to safety. Chei could be in trouble. Febiven still on the opposite side of the wall. He's not in the team fight yet. Unicorns Love have a chance to turn this around. Vizicsacsi is dishing out the damage, but Exileh has given his life for it in exchange. With the miasma down there is no chance to escape. Vizicsacsi a slow tank, a red buff on that Maokai. They're just going to look to run him down, but Jankos has to be careful moving in. The Cho'gath still dishes out the damage. Febiven has enough mana to clease this one out, and at the end of the day, once again, a massive fight for H2K.
Ace going in the favor of H2K. We talked so much about how H2K want to wait before they fight, how Unicorns need to make something happen, but when Unicorns do, it is H2K that punish. They find a great way of flanking behind the Unicorns, punishing the fact that they were so spread out and finding a very successful fight very early on into the game. We are just jumping into a very brief pause as it seems Jankos has some kind of issues.
Talking to the rest now, we'll keep you guys updated as we learn more, but hey, we talked about it. We wanted to see it, Vedius. Team fighting improvement from H2K, and despite how scattered that fight was, despite Febiven he came over the wall, he did some damage, but then he had to roam around to come back into the fight. It still feels like H2K did very well to hold their own, and Vizicsacsi feels like the one man who had the impact that he wanted to in that fight. And I kind of have to wonder, on the side of Unicorns of Love, you just burned the anti-ult. You just burned so much of your damage, and you tried to follow up on this fight. Now, maybe Unicorns of Love saw something I didn't, but it feels like that might not have been the time you wanted to force a fight like that. I
think the logic was we have TP on Church and we have ulti on Exile. So we can get 5 members down bot faster than H2K can. If we get an insta-kill onto someone, maybe we can suddenly swing this fight in our favor. However, as you rightly identified, they didn't quite have the damage. Kalista got knocked back so swiftly from the engagement that UOL, they weren't really in a good position to force the fight. Therefore, H2K, seeing all the spread out members, were able to come at multiple angles. Febiven wasn't even at risk at all. And this early into the game, he will easily win out a 1v1 against Samux. So, really well played fight from H2K. We'll talk more about it once we get the replay. Oh, great timing. So keep your eyes on the knockback here from Nuclear onto Samux, blown over the wall. Now, if all 5 members were here, they could very well have gotten the kill. But now, keep your eyes on Samux. He can't deal damage to anyone, and there's the flank from Febiven. UOL don't see anything that's coming from behind them. Febiven has nothing to worry about because there's no damage threats on him. And Unicorns of Love, they're just forced to try and get whatever they can. Yes, they were able to kill Nuclear, but the damage has already been done. You've lost your support, you've lost your jungler, and now you've only got your 2 tanks left, which Febi and the rest of H2K can slowly work their way through.
And I gotta say, when this Cassio is in the middle of a team fight against the Kalista, it is so hard for Kalista to do anything, but you can see it's not just the Kalista showing up in these team fights, it's also the Maokai. So despite everything getting burned there in the end, Odoamne stays alive for so long, gets out that good damage, and now 20 minutes in, we checked in at 13 minutes, it was about dead even, slight lead for Unicorns of Love with the towers, but now pretty big lead for H2K, 3K, and this is a comp we talked about scaling better into the late game.
Oh yes, for sure. Those late game fights are heavily going to be in the favor of H2K. And they've been winning all the early fights because UOL have not been picking the best time to try and force them. Now, Annie looking for something.
May not have seen the Zac there though, has to be careful. Stretching Strike's going to connect. Galio comes in. Not going to connect on anybody, but Jankos now isolated and alone. Mike comes up, looks to get a little bit of healing back. Chei protecting the team for now. Febiven over the wall, but relatively low. In come the Kitty Cats. They are going to stay on to Hylissang. Now Nuclear looking to pop off as he moves a little bit further into the back line. Leaping forward to take out the Kalista. Exile trying to save his AD carry. No mana left for the Tristana. Looks like he could get taken down, but the auto attacks are enough. The flash to safety, the double kill for Nuclear, but the shutdown from Xerxe. Now retreating back into his own jungle. Xerxe, he's running out of options, and H2K are going to dominate yet another fight. Simply not enough, Vedius. H2K are cleaning up.
Unicorns of Love realize that they have to find something. They know they're going to get outscaled, and in typical UOL fashion, they just try to force the fight. They see a member out of position. They think that they have the vision advantage. They are not expecting H2K to collide on them, but even when they do, they think they can go for the turnaround. They have the members there, primed and ready. They have the Galio ulti. They immediately go on to Jankos, but this guy is so tanky. He positions so well. And then all you need to do is keep your eyes on Nuclear. He sees a squishy target. He knows Odo has joined the fray. Now they have the numbers advantage, and he could just go to town on the back line. Jankos, he still has his passive up. He has nothing to worry about. Nuclear in a 1 versus 3. Vizicsacsi being dealt with by Odo. And UOL, they're so reliant on this Kalista dealing damage. And he's doing the damage, but it's not resulting in any kills.
And that's the sad state. It's just so hard for Samux to play these fights, especially with an Ardent Sensor coming in. He has the Annie on his side. He has that burst damage, but that damage is not in his kit. That damage does not help him in the 1v1. And Vedius, I'll be honest, man. When Maokai got reworked, I thought that ultimate was trash, but it has been carrying so many of these team fights, the snares coming in. And now as we look at the bottom side as well, you already talked about it. 2 items come in for Nuclear, and this is a terrifying point for Unicorns will love to see.
H2K are ready to fight now. If the few fights that they had won earlier did not give that indication.
They weren't ready yet. Yeah. They were winning, but now they're really ready. So we're going to have to see what they can do.
This is where things are going to get really difficult for Unicorns of Love. We've talked a lot about the low damage available on Unicorns. And yes, Cho'gath, still a big threat, still something that you have to concern yourself about. But if I was a betting man, I would say that Nuclear had a much higher chance of being able to kill Chachi before Samux could get through Odo.
Yeah. And then sadly, we just look at it. We look at the math, right? There's a Rod of Ages, that's 1 damage item. There's a Blade of the Rune King, that's 2 damage items for the Unicorns of Love. And now, though, it may be enough. Vizicsacsi's moving forward. He's just trying to get Nuclear down. Jankos wants to say the day may not be enough. Keeper's Verdict not going to knock Febiven out of the fight. Now the Cassio is in the midst of everything, and so much damage is coming from Febiven. Odoamne wants to keep the fight going. Vizicsacsi wants it to stop. They want to kill Febi. They know they can take the fight if they get rid of the damage source, but he just will not die. The Cassio is unkillable. He has the backup. He has the team, and H2K take another fight.
Fantastic pick coming out from the Unicorns of Love, but even better fighting coming out from Febiven. This man stayed alive so easily with all the shielding and positioning and hiding, dealing out so much damage to just crush the Unicorns of Love, move over to the Baron, and now Xerxe, he has no flash. Febiven zoning him away.
He can maybe get over the wall with the heroic charge, but he's not going to find the opportunity. Febiven's just going to burn him down. They say, hey, you want a piece of this Baron? Not going to happen, but Xerxe has other plans. It's not low enough. They're ignoring the Baron. Well coordinated by H2K. Finally going to drop. Vedius, this is an immaculate performance.
So have a look at this pick coming out. Beautiful setup, but look at how quickly the Kalista dies. Gets dragged in by Jankos underneath the tower. Febiven sees that low health target. He sees the damage dealer and he's like, I will destroy you. And he does so aptly. Beautiful team fight coming out from H2K. The fact that they were able to get onto the primary targets, only lose their AD carry, and still win out on the fight when UOL got the best possible engage that they could have, really shows how much this team has grown.
Oh, yeah, that was sad. But you know what's also sad? That's a 0 next to the Kalista's damage output. This is why you ban Zach, folks. If he gets on top of you, you don't get to play League of Legends. That is the lesson that we have learned, but Febiven definitely not the case. We saw almost 6K damage coming out from him, and Vedius, this could be the breaking point in the game because an 8K gold lead, almost 9K backing up for H2K. Towers are just going to continue to fall with this Baron buff, and they may just look to fight again. Zach tries to go in, out comes the ultimate. Poppy looking for the disengage, Keeper's Verdict not going to connect, stretching strikes. No one to tag it onto, and will just be the disengage, but Unicorns of Love just happen to give it up. Hylissang? That's definitely not what you want. Sadly, just another misstep coming in from the side of Unicorns of Love. They've already had 2 massive ones earlier in the game on the back of team fights, but now small ones like this very well could open up the base in favor of H2K.
They have the ban, they have 5 members, they still have a lot of their ultis available. They could just look to dive.
Now moving forward, Maokai starting the fight off. H2K not putting their attention on the tower until they bullied Xerxe back, but with the miasma down, it gives them the clear sign that this inhibitor is open. Nuclear leaping forward, a lot of confidence coming in for H2K, and not going to push in for anything more. They have a massive gold lead, 12K in their favor, but they've been here before. They've had the lead before, and unlike last time, they are not going to risk anything when it comes to giving it up.
The big thing here is H2K, the longer this game goes, the stronger they will get. And you can see that they are on the warpath, beating UOL in the early game, beating UOL in team fights, and so far, just straight up outperforming their long-time 2017 rivals. 6-2 is the record for the Unicorns of Love this year, and H2K, they've had enough.
Definitely looks like the case. Just incredible score lines across the entire lineup for H2K. Sadly, of their 6 deaths, most of them are nuclear, but we look at the opposite side, and Vedius, I see triple adaptive helm. Can you tell me who might be the major damage dealer?
I think that's because of the Cassio.
That's it's a little unfortunate. Well, Vizicsacsi not going to get changed CC. Nice disengage comes in from Xerxe, but as H2K take down this tower, Unicorns of Love, that's the thing. Every time they move forward, I feel like they might just give this one up, or they might try to force one last desperate fight on the side of Unicorns.
I feel like Unicorns will eventually force a fight. They're not the kind of team to go down without giving much of a challenge. Now, Chachi, he has a water TP too if he wants to. It's a little far away, and the flank would be less than optimal. So I'm keeping my eyes on Hylissang. Where can he go? Who's the target he's going to go for?
Gargoyle Stoneplate available for Cho'gath, so he may not be the burstiest champion, but he can theoretically one-shot with the Feast combo if he's given the opportunity.
A lot of respect being shown from H2K. They realize the threat that Unicorns of Love can provide. So they're just going to say, you know what? We'll take it slow. We're going to slow down. We know that we're only going to get stronger from this point on. We know that we're feeling pretty good right now.
And I think this is something we have to praise H2K for. Very often teams disrespect the Unicorns of Love. They say, you know, there's games that are a little sloppy. We can take them. We're not going to make the same mistakes. H2K aren't going to make the same mistakes. They're not going to give Unicorns of Love the same opportunities because we've seen if you give Unicorns of Love an inch in a team fight, they take a mile every single time.
Well, let's see if Unicorns can find a way back. It will be rough. They need to kill both Febi and Nuclear basically at the same time. And there's a Janna on the enemy team as well to interrupt as H2K, they're sieging onto the tower.
Going to knock this one down. Steadfast Presence stops Jankos from pushing any further. No stretching strike to connect either, but just looking for the opportunity. Eyes on the Annie.
Baron is gone.
Exile waiting to come in. Let's bounce now, comes out. Looks like he may just be deleted instantly, though. Exile already taken out of the fight. Now leaps back into it, already taken down. Febiven now moving forward. Hylissang may just get burned down here. The tornado comes out, no chance to leave the miasma. Jankos is leaping forward. They already know that one's done and dusted. Goodbye, Samux. The last threat of damage is gone. Stone plate used, but a little bit too early. It did not get Febiven. In the end, a double kill for Nuclear. H2K are cleaning house. This is exactly what you expect from a team with a 12K gold lead.
H2K have long gone the days of bad team fighting as they destroy the Unicorns of Love and look to take game 1.
H2K say confidently, this is not a team you can make mistakes against. This is not a team you can force sloppy fights against. We will punish you every time. And it's just an immaculate performance here in game 1.
The Love Hurts crew are silent today, Drakos.
And I think you can't blame them. It's hard to watch that one. You see the dive on the bottom side, you get excited if you're a Unicorns of Love fan, you say, oh, this is going to be the clean early game we were waiting for, but again, Nuclear and Chei outplay a 3-man dive so well, and one more fight goes wrong, and suddenly you're staring down a fed Cassio, a fed Tristana.
And it was really that tower dive in the bottom lane that things started to unravel for the Unicorns of Love. As you rightly identified, a lot of the ultis were used to even set that play up in the first place, and the moment the Unicorns of Love split apart, the moment Nuclear got that great knockback onto Samux, the fight was lost. H2K, they guaranteed an early team fight win. They got themselves an incredibly early ace, and they just transitioned that lead so beautifully. This team, you cannot afford to give them an inch because they will take a mile, and H2K demonstrated it once again.
We need to learn more turn-up phrases. We keep reusing each other's.
But it's a classic.
It's very true. You can see the Unicorns Love very focused, though, after that game. Ready to adapt to the next one. We'll have to see what they can do because they do have the historic record. We have to give them that respect that even when we felt like H2K were the favorites, in fact, every time this season we have thought H2K were the favorites, Unicorns of Love have fired back. But this time could be different because H2K had full control in game one. Here are Sjokz and the guys to break it down.
Thank you very much, Drakos, and I think from our perspective, definitely showing why so often we do put trust in H2K because they have the capability to pull off games like this. Sadly, not always versus the Unicorns of Love, but they showed us something. Obviously, when we look at the comps, the Poppy Jungle came in there again for the Unicorns of Love. They build a compositions that is not very forgiving to falling behind, right? You can see that before it even starts, before being results-based analysis, but it does sound risky to go up against that comp of H2K and kind of doing it over and over because you don't really have another way to snowball yourself.
And I think the problem isn't just the Poppy jungle and it's not just the Galio mid. It's like when you put all of these things together, as you say, that there has to be one strong point, and that for the Unicorns is bottom lane in the early game. And very clear they go down that route. But when you put only one threat to actually be the active point of the whole early game, then you're prone to mistakes happening. Unicorns aren't a known early game team, so this isn't like they've been doing it week in, week out.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too predictable, it almost seemed like. This first dive here, we have to remember Poppy Jungle offers very little damage on her own. So when the dive actually happens and Hylissang is already taking so much damage, once they actually go for the potential kill on Chei right there, there's heal and exhaust ready.
Yep.
So there's just not enough damage to kill anyone in the 3v2 dive. That's why in the early game, if you want to go for crazy dives, it's normally like top lane in a 2v1 and not in a 3v2 with exhaust and heal available. Top lane instantly, Chachi then gets ganked, and we were talking a lot about early game, needed to go Unicorn's way. The entire comp was built around camp bot lane, Galio ultis bot lane, Poppy dives bot lane, Annie engages bot lane. Every single time anything was happening in bot lane, Febiven had already moved. Jankos was already nearby. Odoamne with a TP ready. Like, they were so ready for the entire early game plan of Unicorns.
They were. Let's highlight a couple of those components because the Poppy Jungle is now the second time in a row we see it out of Xerxe. Xerxe, I've never said it that way. And we have some replays because, Deficio, you were saying it's actually fine, but probably only for steadfast presence and for the verdict.
Yeah, the thing I like about Poppy is her W and her ulti. I think a W is really good against a lot of these engaged champions like Zac, where you can use it to stop the jump when he flies in. And then I think the ulti is fantastic against tanks because very often the tanks are in the front line. And if you can knock them away, the back line can't obviously follow. If they step forward and try and kill you, you just turn around and kill them. Or they're forced to run away and you can reset the fight. And the two replays actually showed that very well.
Yes, showing how Poppy can at least reset that fight. I think the difficulty from there is you have more damage threats that can easily eat through the Poppy on H2K side. Like, plus 34 CS difference in Febiven's favor before those skirmishes were going on at that 15-minute mark. And at that point, Febiven is already such a significant threat on top of this that everyone on the Unicorns goes, okay, adaptive helm, let's buy one. And then you realize that Tristana has 5 kills.
It makes it so hard, man, when you start falling behind and you don't have any damage. And that's kind of the thing about Poppy. Now, we mentioned some of the positives. Like, some of the negatives, your damage output, as I said earlier, extremely low. Also, executing her in fights is so difficult, man. If you don't properly block that jump with W, if you don't actually hit the right frontline tank with your ulti, you're kind of useless. And that is why a lot of players do not want to play Poppy because she's just so hard to execute in these fights.
And on top of that, on the other side, you leave the Zac open and Jankos gets his hands on it. And he is a madman on that champion. Let's look maybe at a couple of replays. I don't know if it's specifically he'll be crushing it here, but this was something that we were noticing the whole game, how Jankos is very good at playing Zac.
Yeah, and you're the only team leaving the Zac available, really. Saying, okay, we've got this poppy play, but Jankos hits everything. You were very enamored by his stretching strikes to Deficio every single time. Even on like a Scrya's Bloom plant, being able to drag somebody back in. Like, this man should not be given Zac at any point throughout the playoffs. And if you do, be prepared to lose that game.
Still undefeated on the champion. His KDA before the games today on Zac was 62. Only gone up ever since. He's just too good on Zac specifically. I get the trade, and they thought that the poppy counter pick with the W to block the Zac jump in, but again, executing it is difficult.
It is difficult. Let's take a look at another team fight. Is where H2K actually get the ace very early on in the game, a bit delayed, and then it was books closed for the Unicorns of Love. We see here the Annie engage, though. We didn't really touch on that. It did seem that that was all it was. You had that initial burst, but not really able to build anything off it.
Right, it's kind of tough past that initial engagement too much. You can see H2K here and the rest of a scrappy fight are able to at least hold their ground for a lot of it. Jankos drops low, and then Febiven actually comes into the fight, which ends up turning the whole thing around. The interesting thing about Annie is Annie's not really been meta in any sense of the compositions we're seeing here. Like, I wouldn't really want to play Annie into a composition where you can get Cassio W and grounded. You can't flash in. A Maokai can zone you out from a long way away. Tristana can jump away. I can see why you're going that route, but there's a lot of things to actually deter that engage that unless H2K don't ward properly, Unicorns can't get the fight started.
I would say that's all. I mean, that has always been the case, obviously. Like
always very one-dimensional.
Always very one-dimensional, and that is the way you decide to play, and obviously complements Hylissang's strengths, you know?
Exactly, and I think that's why, like, this come from Unicorns. It made sense in terms of how they're trying to play out the game here. A lot of tanks for team fights, and then trying to rely on Samux as the main damage dealer in these engages. Like, we've seen that so many times this split. Problem was just, again, how easy it was for H2K to react to. You're going to camp bot from minute 3 and forward, basically, and then react to it.
I feel like the one thing I'd like to see in draft is you don't need Xerxe on the disengage for Zac and Hylissang on the engage. Flip it to the normal way everybody's playing. Bring a Janna out as the support to try and deny some of that Zac, and then give Xerxe something he can engage on that's maybe a lot more well-rounded. You're not
It
picking
is, but
like
it
Poppy
doesn't
Annie.
something we traditionally equate with how the Unicorns of Love like to play and how they like to engage. Also, just singing the praise of H2K, we just have to praise Nuclear and Chei in that bottom lane. Always, when they're under pressure, they do well. Nuclear had a great game. Jankos is playing out of his mind on this Zac. Febiven's been putting up performance. Odoamne is absolutely doing his job. So
solo death, though. After all of the bad...
that's Maokai. Die in lane, win game.
But just to show how this team does seem extremely well-rounded and on point right now.
We're seeing great early games. We're seeing good late game fights. Like, again, this is why H2K are looking much better now than they have in the past when we've hyped them up, because the meta really suits them as well.
Beautiful to see. Well, the Unicorns of Love, they have their backs against the wall in this top-tier matchup. Let's see if they can strike back when we return.
Every time in 2017, they have defeated H2K. Let's see if they can do it one more time.
Anything further, they're going to move everything on to Chei, but this is going to backfire. Hylissang moving back. Not enough. That's first blood. He was in the midst of everything, and so much damage is coming from Febiven. Odoamne wants to keep the fight going. Vizicsacsi wants it to stop. They want to kill Febi. They know they can take the fight if they get rid of the damage source, but he just will not die. Plant, it's not low enough. They're ignoring the Baron. Well coordinated by H2K. Finally going to drop. Vedius, this is an immaculate performance. In the end, a double kill for Nuclear. H2K are cleaning house. This is exactly what you expect from a team with a 12K goal. H2K say confidently, this is not a team you can make mistakes against. This is not a team you can force sloppy fights against. We will punish you every time. And it's just an immaculate performance here in game 1.